Emily Daniel DeArmond writes, high fructose corn syrup, what's the real scoop? Commercials for the ingredient say that sugar is sugar and your body can't tell the difference. A college professor of mine said that your body does react differently to it on a cellular level. What's really the case? And if the professor was right, what happens when we ingest high fructose corn syrup as opposed to regular sugar? You really just asked me that. Wow. This is the greatest gift ever! Okay, to answer this question, there's really two things we gotta speak to. One is the marketing of high fructose corn syrup, and the other is just the way it's made and what it is chemically. Popular advertising blogger Mark Duffy, who writes under the name Copy Ranter, calls advertising lies well disguised. And I've worked in advertising for about 10 years, and I couldn't possibly agree more. Okay, if you see something in an ad, they're trying to sell you something, whether it's a product or a service or an idea, they want you to buy something. And last year, the corn industry made $83 billion. They're one of the biggest industries in the country, and most of their sales come from high fructose corn syrup, which is in pretty much all processed foods. So they've got a lot of money to protect. Now, your professor, I'm betting, probably doesn't make anything more than $20 billion a year, so he has a lot less money to protect. Who are you going to believe? So when the backlash started up against high fructose corn syrup, they decided, as marketers do, to change the message. They actually changed the name of it to corn sugar and claimed that it's every bit the same as sugar. It's not. Also known as sucrose, sugar is 50% glucose and 50% fructose, chemically bonded. Sugar is made by taking sugar cane and grinding it to a pulp. It's squeezed and all the juices are strained, injected with lime and carbon dioxide, and boiled. The leftover syrup is then dried, and that's where the crystals form, and that's sugar. High fructose corn syrup, on the other hand, high fructose corn syrup is made by grinding the corn and straining it to remove the starch, pretty much the same as sugar. But then the starch is treated with an enzyme made from a bacteria called alpha amylase, which breaks down the long starch chains into shorter ones called oligosaccharides. This is then treated by another enzyme called glucoamylase, which is made from mold. This turns it into pure glucose. But we want a mix of glucose and fructose to be more like sugar, so it's treated with yet another enzyme, xylose isomerase, which converts part of it to glucose. It's then blended together to be either 55% or 42% fructose. So there's high fructose corn syrup 55, high fructose corn syrup 42 to correspond to the different levels and percentages of fructose in the mix. Now we could stop right there and say that, well, I mean, just look at how much simpler it is to make sugar than it is to make high fructose corn syrup and all the weird stuff you gotta put into it to make it happen. But let's go a little further. You asked how the body processes it differently, and here's your answer. Sucrose, sugar, is a chemically bonded combination of 50% glucose, 50% fructose. And your body has to break down that chemical bond in order to separate them and use it the way your body wants to use it. High fructose corn syrup, on the other hand, is actually usually a higher concentration of fructose to glucose, but it's not chemically bonded, it's totally free. So when you eat it, your body automatically just takes it in and just separates it out and starts putting it toward its normal usage. Now, glucose is normally used towards energy and metabolism and stuff like that, but your fructose, they think, is manufactured and metabolized to go straight into fat. A 2010 study from Princeton University tested rats over a 6-month period, feeding some of them sucrose and some of them high fructose corn syrup to see what the difference would be. Over 6 months, the rats fed high fructose corn syrup had a 48% weight gain over the ones fed sucrose. Now, why your body exactly processes the fructose differently when it's broken down through sucrose than when it's just put straight into your body through high fructose corn syrup, they're not exactly sure. So there's still a little bit of a debate out about it. Now, those wonderful ads from the corn growers that you referenced, they say that corn sugar is safe as long as it's used in moderation, but the problem is we don't use it in moderation. It's in everything we eat. Estimates claim that we eat 60 pounds of it every year. That's like cigarette manufacturers saying that cigarettes are safe if used in moderation, but then they pumped it into every single room of every single building in the world. And we all know how honest those guys are.
I don't believe that nicotine or our products are addictive.
I believe nicotine is not addictive.
I believe that nicotine is not addictive.
I believe that nicotine is not addictive.
And I too believe that nicotine is not
I've got a perfect puzzle for you. Oompa loompa doopity-dee. If you are wise, you'll listen to me.
What do you get when you guzzle down sweets?
Eating as much as an elephant eats.
What are you at, getting terribly fat?
What do you think will come of that? I don't like the look of it. Loompa, loompa, doopa-dee-da. If you're not greedy, you will go far. You will live in happiness too. Like the Oompa Loompa Doopity-doo. Doopity-doo.